Hello, I'm morbidly obese for vaccination reasons, Trevor Ashley, and welcome to Drag Hag. Today we have a fantastic episode full of celebrity guests including Virginia Gay, the Eliminated Queen, plus a full recap of RuPaul's Drag Race Down Under Episode 2.
You're a drag hag, you're a drag hag, a bona fide first class, a drag hag, you're a drag hag, you're a drag hag, a bona fide mother-tucking first class, drag hag.
Welcome to Drag Hag, where my very special celebrity drag hag is the amazing Virginia Gay. You've seen her on All Saints, you've seen her on Winners and Losers, you may have seen her in the theatre in Calamity Jane. Ginny, it is great to have you
Thank
here.
you so much for asking. I was so honoured to be asked. I can't even, Trash. I cannot even.
I'm just thrilled. It is absolutely brilliant. Now, I know you
Yes.
for a long time. We've known each other about 20 years, and
we were children.
we were five, and I know that you have always loved a bit of a drag queen.
Oh, yes.
Do you remember the first time you saw a drag queen?
God. No, I don't remember the first time I saw a drag queen. They've always been so much a part of my life, just like integrated. The first piece of drag I saw was the Rocky Horror Show, which I played on a loop on the VCR when I was a literal small child, not our pretend small children that we were pretending to be. But like, I would watch that and that would be my babysitting from around about the age of 8 to about 13. And then they wonder why I came out like this.
Exactly. Well, actually, I don't. I don't wonder ever.
Tim Curry taught me everything I need to know about performance. Fact.
Well, he was phenomenal. I mean, it's one of those films that, you know, for the children listening, if you haven't ever seen it,
Yeah.
it is one of those movies that you just need to see.
Is that possible that people have not seen the Rocky Horror Show?
I think it is. Do you know, it took me a long time. I didn't see it until I was like a late teenager.
Oh, God.
I know, isn't that crazy?
All of those weird and beautiful things that you could have had like rising up in your body. All of those scenes that I didn't understand, but I was like, I will just watch them again if that's possible. I don't know what's going on, but I'll watch it again.
I know, always the shadow puppets were always the bit I didn't quite get.
Yeah.
That was when I finally saw it. I was, must have been 15 or 16. And honestly, I didn't understand it at all, which is really tragic because you can see how long it took me to
shadow your puppets?
Yeah, exactly,
There we
darling.
go.
They say that. Now, I know for a fact you have actually done drag
Yes.
yourself.
This is actually a good point, isn't it? When did I first see drag? Couldn't tell you. When have I been a drag queen? Well, Trash, somebody called me up in the middle of the night once and said, Courtney Axe broken both her legs and I want to dance with you. Courtney had broken one of her legs.
Courtney had broken one of her legs.
on a
Gay ski week.
Gay ski week. Gay ski week is a wonderful sentence.
Yes.
And you were about to open a show and you were like, I need Courtney Act's body double. And I was like, have you seen me?
Well, you were,
what are you doing?
You were also on All Saints at the time,
was.
so the gag was
That's right.
that she was the celebrity nurse to Courtney Act.
And oh my God, I went to props department at All Saints and I was like, I need the biggest syringe you can give me. And just was constantly flicking it in the back of the frame while wheeling her about like Nurse Ratched.
Yes, you were Nurse Ratched before Ryan Murphy came up with it,
Certainly
darling,
was. I also
again.
did a lot of licking of that syringe.
You did a lot of licking of that syringe.
Hygienic. Not now in COVID times, but back then.
You performed at Fair Day and things with me because we couldn't get Courtney on the stage in the wheelchair.
So right. And I had to learn, like, that's one of my first pieces of choreo I ever learned because she's a mover. She's not a dancer, this one. But, like, you teaching me
How to do single ladies.
How to do single ladies in the Gentlemen Prefer Blondes.
Absolutely. And so, yes, Virginia Gay, you did star as Courtney Act's body double in Gentlemen Prefer Blokes.
Yeah.
Do you have an actual drag name of your own?
10,000% I do. Oh my
Yes?
God, I've been waiting my whole life. My drag king name is Keith Urban Myth.
I like that.
Thanks so much. It comes with its own pre-made lesbian hair.
Fantastic.
And actually, listen, the one that I really want for a drag queen is Helen Highwater. Come, Helen Highwater.
I love that.
It's one of those ones that only my parents really enjoy.
Oh, I love that, darling. I
Also,
think that's fabulous.
Truth is that I've been waiting my entire life for me to become famous enough that somebody will become a drag queen of me.
Of you.
Because my name is
Because then
just
they can
named
just be
for it.
Virginia Gay.
Like the joke's there.
It's there, it's so
Already,
easy.
It's not so much a double entendre as just an entendre.
Now, have you been watching RuPaul's Drag Race over the years?
I have indeed, but I got a bit overwhelmed over the last couple of years and I fell behind once and then I couldn't catch up.
You can never catch up.
I
It's
know.
like there's 8 million episodes. Yeah.
Exactly, and as soon as it started going Thailand and the UK, I was like, I can't choose. Full Sophie's Choice. I was like, then I'll have none of them. So I was thrilled to be back on with the Australian one because I was like, number one, I'll know everybody. Number two, accents. Number three, people trying to do Australian accents. Down under.
Down under.
So
G'day,
glorious.
g'day, g'day.
Which is getting better.
It
every
is getting
week.
better.
It's
Yeah,
getting significantly
it is
better
getting
every
better.
week. And so I was like, absolutely, I'll come back on board right here, right now.
Now, who are your favourite Ru girls from previous series?
Oh my God. Okay, impossible to narrow down. But if I were to say Alaska, could not get enough of
Your
Alaska.
favourite? Yep.
I think if I had to choose proper favourite, Sasha Velour. God, I loved her.
was fabulous.
She was so fucking glorious. Bianca. Courtney, out of loyalty, of course, and because I was her limbs for so long. Sharon Needles, fucking hell. Bob, I mean, heaven. Adore, again, similar to DC, a very fond spot for Dior. Dior.
Dior.
She'd love to be Dior.
Yes.
But I think Alaska and Sasha.
Alaska and Sasha.
Fuck, and then Jinx. Jinx was so kind.
Jinx
and
is fab too.
Bella, I mean, Ben de la Creme, like the fact.
Dayla, love her.
Dayla, there we go. She's fun. I'm not the one drinking. Fucking hell. Dayla.
Amazing. Well, look, Jenny, I think with all of your vast drag hagism, I feel you are very qualified to move on to our next segment, which is recapping episode 2 of RuPaul's Drag Race Down Under.
You know who I mean. You know who I mean.
So, we are on episode 2 of RuPaul's Drag Race Down Under. Overall,
Yes.
it was a very interesting episode.
It certainly was. When they pulled out Snatch Game on episode 2, I was like, oh, thrilling, give the audience what they want, a little treat in COVID times. And then, like 2020 as a whole, just not as promised.
It didn't go where we thought it would, did it?
We had plans for it, and then we had to cancel all those plans.
And I wonder whether,
Yeah.
because they did put it up so early in the series,
Yeah.
that it needed to be a bit later to give some of them a bit more confidence. I kind of felt like with 9 of them on that panel, it was a busy
Yeah.
desk,
Yeah.
which meant that everyone gets a little bit less airtime.
Yes.
Which was a really good thing for several of them. But you know, I did think that it wasn't the episode that I think we all had hoped for on the first ever Australian Snatch Game.
And we had so many possibilities.
Yeah.
And as soon as Lynn Postlethwaite,
Yes.
Lynn Postlethwaite,
Magda's
Yes.
character, yes.
Right, of course. I was like, of course, you could do an entire Snatch Game just of Magda characters.
Yes.
And in
it
fact-
could be the wall of 1,000 Magdas.
Oh my God. In fact, is there any chance, could we have that? Can we have...
Let's see if we can get everyone together to do it again. But look, let's go back
Yes.
to the top of the episode. One thing we didn't talk about last week
Yeah.
was that it's a $30,000 cash prize.
Disappointing.
Now, disappointing.
Yeah.
Though this week it was a $5,000 win. Last week it was a $3,000
Yeah.
win. So there might sort of be enough in there that it.
Yeah.
But I feel for the money you spend to go on that show, it's just a little bit under.
Because this is the thing, right? We're meeting all of these beautiful queens who are making their own gowns and are having to do it on a fucking dime. And you go, it's not fair, considering the amount of money that some people are able to spend.
Yes.
And exactly, if you are going to sink that money, if you are going to mortgage your house to compete on a world stage, you'd love to be recompensed in prize money, wouldn't you?
Yes, and we all know it's not cheap to live in Sydney or
True
in
that.
any
Or
city
Auckland.
in Australia,
Yeah,
really, or New Zealand.
Yeah.
And the thing that I find interesting is that, after a lot of those girls didn't get to work
Yeah.
for 6 months of
Yeah.
last year, when the
Yeah.
pubs weren't open, when people weren't able to be performing due to COVID, I think it was a tough time for them to bring the series, because I think if they'd have been working all year, they'd have had a bit more notice
Yeah.
that, it was coming, they'd have saved up. I think we're going to see a bit of similarly what we saw a bit of in UK,
Yeah.
is that just because due to money,
Yeah.
people just didn't have it to spend it. So I thought that the prize money could have been a bit more,
Certainly. I mean, also the thing about the tips, we're hoping that the tips aren't taxed, right?
Oh,
That's
yeah,
the thing.
God.
That's
Yeah, I know.
like you've picked up $5,000 off
Oh, but-
off your stripper floor.
Yes,
That's what
exactly.
you want,
It's like
in dollar
this.
bills. Yeah.
crawling around the floor.
Yeah.
Now, okay, so we were
been
in the
there.
workroom.
Yes.
They introduced the New Zealand girls to the thing called a shoey. Now, I even had to look that up because I don't think I've done a shoey before. Have you done a shoey,
I've
Jenny?
never done one, but of course I know what they are. It's like I've never. Oh God! I went somewhere really dark, and then I tried not to. I went to dingoes killing things.
Well, we've got more of that coming later.
Totally. But I know of a shoey. But do we actually do them, or is that one of those things like chuck a couple of prawns on the barbie and
Yeah.
shrimp on the
Shrimp
barbie,
on
but
the
we don't
barbie,
actually say
but
that.
we don't say it, no.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I feel like there's Tourism Australia feel like they've had a hand
Yeah.
in this season to
Yeah.
say, get as much Aussie shit in there as you can, like pack it full of Aussie stuff, every saying, absolutely. But speaking of
Yes.
popping a whole bunch of Aussie shit into the show, we had a double Minogue tonight,
We did.
which was fabulous.
It really
we
was.
had Kylie appear at the beginning. Wasn't it exciting to see Kylie appear on that screen in the workroom?
It was glorious. And then I really, honestly, when Danny appeared later, I was like, I feel like Danny's had so much more experience with hosting. Kylie's,
Yes.
our icon,
Yes.
our queen. But Danny's actually been hosting for ages. So when she was here and she was like chatting and delightful,
Yeah.
I was like, this is glorious. This is
It
really
was,
glorious.
it was also good because obviously Kylie was a pre-recorded and Danny was obviously a Zoom, but a very expensive Zoom.
I hope so.
But it was fabulous. It was great, and they were very excited to see Kylie
know.
there. But of course, we basically got straight into the fact
Yeah.
that the Maxi Challenge was going to be
Yeah.
the Snatch Game.
I know.
So Rue, after the girls had sort of talked about, we almost had two Bindi Irwins there for a moment.
And what the world would have been if it had been the other way round,
I know.
If there had been two warring Bindis.
Yes, if they were both on the panel. I mean, I kind of would have loved to have seen that in some ways.
Do you have an incredible Jennifer Coolidge? You must.
No, I
I'm
can't
talking
do
about your
Jennifer.
vagina. I just want you to know. I assume that it is incredible and
Yes,
very
it
cool.
is. It
Cold
is
to the
very
touch. It's
cool. No, I'm very look. I'm a big fan of Jennifer Coolidge, but that was an off the wall sort of choice.
Tell you what, I thought she really nailed it.
She nailed the voice. She's
Nailed
got
the
the
voice.
voice down.
Yeah.
And that was great. But I wonder what Scarlett would have been like and what her take
Exactly.
on Bindi Irwin would have been if she'd have actually done it.
Yeah. And also, please, can we go back in time and can we have Carol Baskin instead of Dr. Seuss? Every
Imagine.
queer person in the entire world was yelling at the camera,
Carol
Carol
Baskin!
Baskin!
Don't do Dr. Seuss! Do Carol Baskin!
Also, who knows what Dr. Seuss looks or sounds
Well,
like?
look, I mean, obviously, and we'll get into it a bit later, but
Sure.
the idea that it was
In
even
writing.
I just can't believe that for her it was even a choice. It was like, well, and then I did quite laugh at Anita, like going, she said, so I've got Carol Baskin or I've got Dr. Seuss, and Anita went, ah, with one of those faces that she has, with all those teeth and all those things, and and then we knew that
yeah.
Maxi was going to be doing Magda, and then sort of et cetera, saying she was going to be doing Lindy Chamberlain.
Yeah, which we
How
all-
did you feel about that?
Listen, I think we all thought it was going to blow up in her face, and she delivered a couple of absolute
Yeah, I
corkers.
know.
It was really...
And it was interesting to see the other girls going. I think it was Karen sort of in the background going, I don't know whether she should, like, I mean,
Yeah.
the poor woman's been through enough. Does she need to be on Snatch Game? I mean, you know, that's a challenge,
I mean,
isn't
it's
it?
a very good point. But when you succeed at a challenge where the bar's that high, it's really quite impressive.
I know.
Oh, it's so problematic.
So we had Rue standing uncomfortably 2 metres away from everybody as usual. Always just that little bit distant, laughing his head off, but not anyway. But he seemed to find Anita very funny. So she goes up to Rue,
Yes.
and the first thing that comes out of her mouth is that joke that says, when people turn 100, I send them a letter. When people turn 16, Andrew sends them a text. I mean, that's good.
It's really
It was
good.
real promise for the rest of the episode.
Absolutely.
And it was really funny. Like, there was those sort of things made me go,
Yeah.
here we go, this is going to be fabulous.
Absolutely.
And then we sort of had our getting ready segment. We talked about, you know, very little really as everyone was getting ready.
And then there's the thing where I always assume that anybody who's doing a sob story is about to go home.
Yes.
Like I've started to learn that. I'm like, oh, I warm to you. Oh, goodbye.
But
You
it's
know?
like JoJo last week.
Oh.
It was all about JoJo.
Heartbreak. But this week we got the full sob story, and Wiglet, spoiler alert,
Wins.
Straight up
I
win
know.
too. Not
yeah.
even
like that
not
was.
even a shortlist.
I don't think that's ever happened before. I don't remember her ever doing that. But
Straight up, that's
let's
the way.
go into the actual Snatch Game.
Yes.
So we have a panel that has Karen from Finance is Dolly Parton.
Oh, can we stop and talk there for a
Yes.
hot second, because we had high hopes. We had
Yeah.
high hopes. Karen is the queen of all of us,
Yes.
and Dolly is hugely identifiable vocally. I didn't think she was there vocally.
I think it was just. I think she
She's
could have
right.
been doing Designing Women. She was really like she was Sugar Baker more than she was Dolly. I didn't think it didn't quite sit there.
And it's so like she's so up
No,
there.
it's got to be
I
that
know,
up
I
there,
know.
yeah. You know, and she also,
all got
I
opinions.
mean, we all do it. I mean, neither of us can do her. My friend Kelly does the best Dolly Parton show,
Really?
all of the UK. She tours as Dolly and she's amazing.
Heaven.
Yeah, brilliant. But Dolly, obviously, she looked good,
She looked great.
but then she sat next to the rough as guts version of Bindi Irwin.
Which was such a great take. Started as such a great take. She just ran away with herself. Those sentences were so long and they weren't going anywhere. And then we were like, oh, is there a punchline here somewhere?
No, and it wasn't, and it just never kind of got there. And I just felt like she was just being an even more ochre version of art.
I know, which of course could have worked brilliantly if you had punchlines. 'Cause
Yeah.
I love seeing Art Simone's fucking fabulous looks and that filthy mouth coming out of that. Like, I love that so much. That dynamic is so
Also,
glorious.
too, the fact that Bindi's from the family, so you've got the brother,
Yeah.
you've got Terry, you've got Steve, who's long gone to talk about.
got the
you've
Stingray.
got the Stingray, you've got the animal park. I mean,
Yeah.
there are so many things.
Dancing with the
And
Stars.
she ended up doing a joke about blowflies, and I was like, "Oh, dolls, this just wasn't right."
Here's a question. Okay,
Yes.
so you know that in some of the getting together in the workroom scenes, people are like, "I've had this dress made. I've had this dress made," and in that workroom scene, so a couple of people maybe said, "I've had these jokes prepared." So that's a way to do it. That's one of the ways to do it, right? That you don't have to wing it. You
No.
can actually, you could write yourself a series of scripts for a series of like possible answers to possible
I
questions.
mean, you
right?
think about Alaska doing the legendary when she did Mae West, and you think about hey, why don't you come up and fuck me in the ass sometime? Oh, whoa.
Incredible.
You know, but that
Yeah.
is exactly like you take one of Mae West's sayings,
yeah.
you twist it, you write it beforehand, and you
Exactly.
turn up and you do it.
Exactly.
And that was what I felt like.
Yeah.
The only person who had done that was Anita as Queen Elizabeth was
Totally.
the only one
Totally.
who just wrote a bunch of jokes
Yeah.
like you know, I send them that joke is
Yeah.
so good. And then she didn't even use it in the Satch game.
I
She
know.
used it in the workroom.
That's so good. I know.
And she had enough. And even the Corgi's peanut butter
Yeah,
joke,
great, glorious.
all good. You know, that was what was interesting.
Yeah, but this is the thing too, that you like, obviously you're meant to answer the question. Absolutely, you're meant to have an answer to the question.
Yeah.
But the way that you get there should be filled with punchline, punchline, punchline. There's your ultimate punchline if you possibly can.
Yes.
But punchline, punchline, punchline. And then I thought it was actually really interesting listening to Visage talk to them afterwards, saying, also what we're looking for is volley.
Yeah.
Like, I love that.
Play.
That's great. Absolutely give me the volley. But give me something to volley with. Like, give me
Yes.
3 great punchlines, and then we'll be like, yeah, you want a riff?
And this is one of the things that we was just saying as we were watching the episode,
Yeah.
that, you know, when you've got somebody, when Maxie was doing Magda, her line, like the punchline she wrote, like Lisp was such a funny, brilliant
Glorious.
punchline to that joke.
Yeah.
And in fact, I'm surprised Reese didn't say that, because that was a very Reese sort of thing to make fun of his own
Isn't
Lisp.
he doing brilliant?
So he's fabulous.
So fabulous.
But that was what I found interesting, was like, I was saying, you know, Lynn Postlethwaite has the gay son, and she always talks about him in the thing, and she could have said, well, look, Roo, I've bloody had my son, and he's a bit of a homosexual. And you know what? I think that if I threw a boomerang, it'd come back and hit his Lisp. I said, Roo, I said, love, I said, Roo, I said, Lisp, like that sort
There
of
you
thing.
go.
And I
You've
feel
got
like
Snatch.
that would I would have been good at it. Let's be honest. I would have been okay. But it was interesting. So I mean, we had that Coco Jumbo as Lizzo.
Again, I was so filled with hope for this. I wanted Coco Jumbo. I want Coco Jumbo to win.
We had Coco, Lizzo, again, a little bit disappointing. That sort of back row was generally disappointing, apart from the Queen.
I know.
And then we sort of come down to Electra doing Moira Rosie, Catherine O'Hara, which was
Kind of mad and glorious.
As Rue and Michelle said, it was nothing like her, but also it was everything like her.
Yeah.
It was a very strange,
Yeah.
interpretation, but
It was.
she had some good lines.
She really did. It was like a drag queen doing Moira Rose on Schitt's Creek.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, it had many layers of meta-ness. It was like
It was.
we all. It was like I would have paid to have seen Catherine O'Hara's response video to that. In fact, can we make that happen?
Yes.
Can we get her to watch?
Get Catherine to watch it and then film it, and Magda to watch her. I mean, that's the thing.
Wall of
Um,
Magdas. That's all I want.
Let's go down also along the row to Lindy Chamberlain, etc., etc. I
Pretty
mean,
impressive. It's pretty impressive.
dark and black and inappropriate, but so is drag, and so it should be sometimes. I really think. For me, she was number 2.
She made me squawk with
if
laughter.
It was like
Yep.
the fact that Dingo ate her first answer. I mean,
But that's again.
she prepared that.
that's
She
my
knew that
point.
was what she was going to do.
Prep those jokes. Prep those jokes like you're prepping those looks, ladies.
Well, I mean,
Opinion.
I think that
Never
was
done anything like this.
No, but I mean, but you've done a lot of improv and you've done a lot of character work, and I think that you know that you have fallbacks. You know that you have things that you can say that you know are going to be funny because you've used them before, or they've come to you and you've
Yes.
just sort of got a general picture.
Yeah.
And I think when you're doing something like Snatch Game, you just have to be so prepared. It's just all about the preparation.
Yes.
And then being able to just throw it out the window. And if your answer, because the answer's the least important thing. It is
Strong
literally
agree.
that story.
Strong agree.
It's a story, and that's why, Lindy didn't even give one on the first one. On the second one, she said, I can't
The
remember,
dingo.
but then the third,
Dingo
but then the
puppet.
dingo got her on the third one. So I mean, it was quite funny. I mean, black but
Yeah.
funny.
Second time.
Finally,
Yes.
Keita as Dr. Zeus. So we've all said she should have been Carol Baskin, or should she have been? I mean, she was obviously ad-libbing rhymes.
Yeah? Is it called RuPaul's Rhyme Race? No, it's fucking not.
Oh, it
Jesus.
really, that was That was somewhere. Now, there was a rumour that had run around, and Willem and Alaska talked about it on their podcast, that they had said that the Australian what are we doing? Snatch game.
Yeah.
Willem and Alaska had said that the Australian Snatch game was apparently the worst in RuPaul's Drag Race history.
And then they all come out of it and they're like, we were great. We were great, guys.
I think everyone
we were
was
great.
fabulous. Weren't we good? I mean, that was really odd. I was like, I get there's no audience, and I get
I
that
know.
there's no...
Yeah.
But I mean, they must have seen Michelle's face.
Although, the series of pulleys and winches.
Yeah, I guess there is that. There is that, and it doesn't do a lot. But even Reese, just the fact that he covered his face with his hands at several moments,
Can we talk for a second about how brilliantly Reese is doing?
he's
How
fabulous.
excellently he is doing, and how joyful it is, because Reese is so exquisite in his stand-up at deadpan, like he's so deadpan, and how much it fills my soul to see him ricocheting with laughter and those little dimples and that fresh dye job every 2 hours.
Every 2
my
hours,
God.
I'm sure.
Fabulous. I just think he's doing brilliantly.
He
I'm
is,
so
and
proud
he was
of
so
him.
funny. Look, and this is the other tough thing about doing Snatch Game. When you've got a Reese Nicholson and a Michelle Visage, who are both so funny, their
Yeah.
answers were really clever and
Yeah,
funny.
yeah.
And often, we have a bit of a dud guest or someone who's not that funny come on and be on Snatch
Yeah.
Game just as a celebrity.
Yeah.
To have the two of them actually doing it with them this time, obviously due to, COVID and budget and all those things, it was harder for the girls too, because the two of them were just so on fire.
I know.
And it was really tough. It was tough.
I know, and when we heard that rumour about Willem and Alaska saying that it was the worst
I was
ever,
like, no, they just didn't get it.
They didn't
That's what I
understand
thought. They
us.
don't understand our Australian sense of humour.
yeah. It's them, it's not us.
It's definitely not them. It was definitely us. To all of our international viewers and listeners, on behalf of our nation, we'd like to apologise for the Snatch Game.
We promise you that next year, if we get it next year, it'll just be a wall of Magdas.
It will be. It'll be much funnier, I promise. I promise Ginny and I will coach them personally if we have to, just to get that over the line.
I'll break their legs and put them in a wheelchair. That's how I do drag, it would appear.
Yeah, it is.
If you cut my introduction, that's going to look so fucking weird.
First class drag hag.
All right, now,
All right.
Ginny, we are on to our next segment, which is one of my favourites. It is Hideous or Heaven. We are going to go through all of the runway looks and have a chat about each of the looks. This week, the category was Sea Sickening.
And was it not sickening?
No.
There were some fabulous
Fabulous.
looks.
Fabulous. Let's start with Art Simone. She had that sort of seaweedy, green,
Glorious.
flowy, webbed
Oh,
fingers.
the webbed fingers
all
were
of
heaven.
that.
Webbed, bejeweled fingers coming back for the winter season.
It redeemed her after a rough old Snatch Game.
Yeah.
Would you say Hideous or Heaven?
I would say absolute heaven. I love
Heaven.
that silhouette, that cinch.
Yes.
Girl.
Next up, we had Keita Mean from
Yes.
New Zealand.
Yes.
She came out in that sort of sea witchy white, flowy sort of look.
Was this Mother of Pearl?
It was not Mother of Pearl.
was
No,
that
that's
different
coming
one?
up. Yes, no, this was sort of look. I can't say it was that
Memorable.
memorable.
Ooh,
Of
I
all the
just
looks,
watched it.
it was just, like
Okay.
5 minutes ago you watched it.
Okay.
So, yeah, she had that sort of white look. I wouldn't say it was hideous, but I'd say it was only halfway to heaven.
It's forgettable. Don't do that.
Halfway to heaven, I
Yeah.
feel, with her. Okay, let's go on to Etc. Etc. She came as a deep sea diver. I liked the fact that was an interesting concept. It
Yep.
wasn't a sea monster or something like that.
Yep.
She actually had a sort of slightly different thing. What did you think,
Listen,
Ginny?
I thought she looked fabulous, and then I was like, and now she'll rip off everything, and that never happened.
And it never came.
And I was like, oh, but that's a pull-away boiler suit.
Yeah.
That's clearly. And
you
then
kind of
underneath,
wanted her to, didn't
perfect
you?
bikini.
And I think maybe had she done that, she would have been a little bit closer to winning this week.
Yeah,
Because
I
she
agree.
really was, for me, really close on with Anita on the win of Snatch Game.
Yeah.
Coming up next, Maxi Shield
Yes.
was Mother of Pearl.
Mother of
She
Pearl.
came, which I like that. Again, a very left of centre idea using the pearl. She sort of had that sort of mumsy pearl dress. She looked almost like a pearly queen, you know.
Yeah.
The pearly with the little wig and the tiara. What do you think?
Yeah, heaven-ish for me.
Heaven-ish.
I wasn't blown away by it, but I thought she looked lovely.
Yeah, look,
Yeah.
again, not the best on the runway, not the best in the Snatch Game. Solid performance
Yes,
tonight
totally.
from Maxine Maureen. Electra.
Yes.
Electra came in that sort of, well, Reese described it as a year 10 formal dress when your mum had a lot of money.
Yep.
So,
And I described it as an off-the-rack wedding gown.
yep, I'm going with hideous. I'm sorry, Electra. I'm going on hideous on that one.
I just wanted more. I wanted something spectacular. But you have said this before, and it's really important to remember, they had 3 weeks to prepare.
Yep.
3 weeks to prepare for this. And when you have to pull together all of your looks from 0 to 100 in 3 weeks, sometimes you're taking off the rack bridal gown, you know?
We had Coco Jumbo come out in her Ursula the Sea Witch inspired. Now, I disagree with Michelle. I'm with Reese here. She looked like Ursula. It was a sort of more elevated
Yeah.
Ursula with the big white hair
Yeah.
and the big black corset and the purple things coming off. Short of body painting herself purple, I thought it was an interesting take on Ursula.
Yeah. Well, body paint might have finished the look. I mean, but then, of course, then you're sort of doing cosplay, which is not exactly what you're looking at.
No. And I don't... Look,
I tell you what, when we got to lip syncing,
Yeah.
and suddenly those tentacles were used
Oh,
in,
yeah.
in your like
Fabulous.
classic voguing,
Yeah.
I was like, genius, brilliant.
I think I'm
the
still
polo
going with
skirt.
Coco being heaven.
Yeah.
Are you happy with heaven for Coco?
Yes. Heaven, yeah, heaven close.
Close to heaven. Okay, next we had Anita Wiglet. She was a siren. She was a songbird siren. She came out, gave them actually a note at
Yes.
the beginning of this, and then came down the runway. She had a beautiful sort of gown with the windswept wig and sort of looked like, and with all the
windswept.
jeweling up the
Yes.
breasts. I thought this was a perfect finish for her tonight.
Fabulous, absolutely. And she was right to be brought one step forward and immediately join the chorus line. Like, she
Yes,
was
please,
fabulous.
Go.
She was
You're
really
in there. You
spectacular.
got the gig, doll.
She's
Yeah.
one singular sensation.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
going to be. I'm going to just be interested to see whether I can handle watching her every week. It's
I-
going to be the next thing.
I have warmed to her so enormously. That's all of those teeth. I was like, yes.
Look, I
Tell
think
me
she's
everything.
fantastic.
Yeah,
I just, I wonder how the edits will
Continue.
will continue
Yes.
for her
Yeah.
tonight. A great edit for her.
Yeah.
Let's talk about next Karen from Finance as the Great White Shark.
I have never.
Eaten by the
have
shark.
Never. She looked spectacular.
Yeah.
Who makes her gowns? I want every single one of her gowns. I want all her padding. She looks glorious.
She really does.
And the Cyndi Lauper face as well, like the full Cyndi
Yeah.
Lauper look inside the shark hoodie. I
Yeah.
can't even.
And then when she pulled the hood off and just,
Fabulous.
it still just looked like a little capelet.
Tits
Oh,
and
it was
hips.
great.
A little
It was
toothed
fantastic.
capelet.
She's double heaven tonight. I think she won the runway for me tonight.
Yes, I agree. Although the one at the end. I have a name.
Scarlett as the Barrier Reef.
That was also pretty spectacular.
It was
That
beautiful.
was a pretty extraordinary look.
Yeah, and I mean, look, I think so far, considering they've had to present 3 runway looks so far,
God.
and we're in episode 2, I think the strength of the runways is pretty great. Like, I think
agree.
it's much stronger than UK.
Yeah.
This is beautiful runway looks. They're couture. They have made everything. This is pretty special. So I think we're going to be seeing some exciting things coming up.
On the runway. How would you say it compares to the Snatch Game?
Look, I think it won over the Snatch Game
think it
tonight.
might have.
That way that Rue then pulled Anita forward, immediately gave it to her, saved Keita, saved
Amazing.
etc., and then everyone else up for elimination. Tough.
Also,
But I have to say, tough but fair.
Not unfair.
No.
I also have to say, when Rue at the end of the Snatch Game said the winner of Snatch Game
Was Jojo Zaho.
because she
Because she didn't have to be
endure
there.
it.
Yeah, wow. Oh, well, a good compliment for you, Jojo, darling, if
We
you're
love you,
listening.
Jojo.
You were fabulous. You were robbed, darling. You were
Fab.
robbed.
True.
So, thinking about that final lineup, we had a lot of suspense. It was really on edge because it looked like there for a second it was going to be Maxi and Coco. And then we end up with the lip sync between Coco and Art. Now, I don't think any of us saw this coming this early.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I don't think I imagined Art being anywhere near the bottom for weeks and weeks and weeks.
Yeah,
That was really, really.
there's Drag
exciting.
Race for you.
And then also, I have to say, that was a tough one to lip sync to because it's not one that the girls know, so they would have had to learn it.
Yep.
Like, it's not a banger where you've got notes that you hit that you know and that you've worked in front of a crowd that you know.
Yep.
Oh, that was a real tough
I
one.
thought so, and you know what? I actually found it odd having both Minogue sisters
I
on
agree.
tonight and not to have done either, you know, a Kylie song or a Danny song or...
Oh, they haven't really got
The
any
sisters-
hits. Haven't even got any
No,
hits.
not- they've got none.
Can't think of a single one.
But I mean, that's the thing.
20,
It was
30,
very
40.
odd, I felt, that they chose a RuPaul song
Yeah.
on this episode. Do you think they did it on purpose to favour Coco? Because I felt,
Yeah.
I feel that sometimes when it is that, you know, rapping that's got the swagger that I think a POC does better, that it makes more sense for someone to do that. That I think Art, I think they were positioning her not to get it, and I think they knew that if they picked that song was going to be the song, they wanted Coco to succeed and they wanted Coco to go through. And that's, I think, why they chose that, because if they'd have done a Kylie, I think it would have been it could have gone either way, and then it would have looked weird.
Can you tell me because you know a little of the inside work.
Yeah.
Can you tell me, do they know what song they're going to lip sync to every week?
They-
like every episode? 'Cause
They
it's
had
not
told,
weekly,
as
is
far
it?
as I know, and if I'm not mistaken, I think Courtney told me this, that you get your list and you get your songs,
Yeah.
like the cut
Yeah,
that
yeah,
they
yeah.
use.
Yeah.
You get given that weeks in advance, same
Yeah.
time as you get your runways. You learn all the songs. Then they tell you which song they're going to do, I think, only just before you step out on the runway. So when you get that, when you're ready and you're all ready to go, they say, by the way, the lip sync song is this one today.
That's such
And
a
so you
psych.
literally have to go back after, and that's why they all
Yeah,
sit
yeah,
there and
yeah.
put the headphones on, because it's not like they've told them the day before and they've all gone home and done it again.
course.
They probably just constantly have that on when they're at home, you know, they'd just be listening. But look, I do think that song was chosen. It was an odd song to choose, and I really felt that it was something to do with making sure Coco stayed.
I like to think it's that they got the two Minogues, and the two Minogues were like, we love Drag Race. We'd absolutely love to be on it, but you can't afford our song. I like to think that's what it was.
They ran out of budget in
Yeah, yeah,
week
yeah.
one with Bee Gees. After now, we just do RuPaul numbers. That's it. So we had the lip sync. I thought this lip sync was, I don't think it's the greatest song to be lip syncing to. It hasn't got a lot of energy.
How does it compare to the Snatch Game? Similar.
It wasn't great. But look, Coco was fabulous.
I agree.
And
The rip
it
away-
wasn't that Art was bad, it just didn't suit Art. And Art would never do a song like that.
Sure. I don't know.
She's
Art,
a
so-
sort of more a showgirl. She
Yeah,
does
right.
funny stuff. She does, you know. Anyway, that's how
Ooh.
I felt. So
I was very underwhelmed by the. And,
I was
and
too.
actually, thank God Coco started really bringing it in the second half of that lip sync.
Yes.
Because in the first half, I was like, has it started? Is it on yet?
yeah.
Is it?
And
Oh,
I
we're doing it.
absolutely thought, like, I mean, imagine if it had been 100 degrees rather than that. If they'd have done Kylie and Danny 100 degrees,
Okay.
it would have brought the house down and would have given the episode also just that little bit of energy it needed, I felt,
unexpected.
after a very flat
Yeah.
Snatch Game. But that's just me. I don't produce the show.
Yet. So I do hope that that they're going to Shangela Art Simone.
Well, let's cross our fingers.
I can't-
And look, considering
I'm not
she
sure I want-
has a World of Wonder contract, I would be very surprised if this is the last we see of Art Simone.
Hallelujah!
Thanks for being on the show, Ginny. It's been heaven having you here. Mwah, 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 mwah.
Thank you so much,
Looking
baby.
forward to next week.
Drag hack, yup, a drag hack.
Well, this was the surprise we didn't see coming in episode 2. The eliminated queen was Art Simone, Melbourne star, and she joins us right now. It is so great and sad to welcome Art Simone to the show. Art, it was such a shock to see you go home so early. How did you feel?
It was hard and fast, wasn't it? We went in dry and we left no prisoners. I don't know. I'm miserable and upset and disappointed and embarrassed would be an understatement. I've been able to sit and stew on this for a couple of months now, and now that the day's finally here, it's a sad day. I didn't see it coming. I think there was a general consensus that the room was quite shocked when it happened. And yeah, I mean, I haven't seen the episode yet, so I'm not sure how it all plays out in the end. But from what was there when we were there, it was such a shock. Like, oh, I'm still confused.
No, and I totally get it, because I think that you were seriously one of the ones that we all thought was going to be right there to the end. So, but you were so spectacular in every moment. How did you feel about your snatch game? Because obviously that was what put you there in that bottom 2.
Yeah, well, impersonations aren't under my wheelhouse whatsoever. I've never needed to do an impersonation before in my life. I've never wanted to do an impersonation before in my life. I wasn't good as a high school kid pretending to be straight, let alone someone else. So I still to this day think that I was very mid-range. I know I wasn't the worst, and I was happy with what I did, considering I walked into Drag Race knowing it wasn't one of my strong suits, and I was scared of it. When I walked out of that day, I was still proud of what I did, and then I got through it. And I, on set, we were getting laughs for everything. It was seeming to go down all right. I stand by little Miss Bindi Irwin. And I don't know. I mean, did I over prepare? Was I just generally shit at everything? Who knows? Rue knows. I don't know.
Look, it was a strange old snatch game, and I'd heard this rumour, obviously, that Willem and Alaska had said on their thing that it was the worst snatch game ever. Did you feel that in the room at the time? Did you feel that was the case?
Not at all. And that's what's still confusing to me. We must have just had a general sense of like hysteria, and we were just all so delusional that it happened. We did it. There were laughs. Like, there was lots of laughs on set and from the judges. And we walked out of there being like, you know what, that was really good. Like, there was a couple of people that were definitely lower, but as a whole, like, we did really well. We should be really proud of ourselves. And then to get on the main stage, and that's why we're all so shocked when it was like, oh no, 6 of you are in the bottom. It was really bad.
How was that moment in the room when Rue basically only saved, gave Anita the win, then gave the other 2 a save? How did you all feel? Of the 6 of you, was that a huge shock?
It was the most shocking thing. I was shitting bricks. Like, I just fully had no idea what was going on. I think I was in a state of shock. And especially hearing who was safe, like to hear that like Dr. Zeus was safe was so confusing. And I was just like, what planet am I on? We were all so confused and lost and shocked. And even then, when we got kind of negative critiques, he walked into Untucked and we were still like, we don't really know who the worst is anymore.
It was ambiguous. Like, it really, I have to say that when she called, I mean, it was I think a tough decision for Rue, obviously, but look, I mean, Coco knew she hadn't sort of stepped up to the mark, but I didn't feel that you had failed it dismally at all. So it was kind of an interesting, you know, it was just a bit of a shock that you were the one lip syncing.
Yeah, I genuinely didn't think I did the worst, and so when my name was called, your bloody life flashes before your eyes, and you're like, "What is going on?"
Absolutely.
Yeah, still to this day, there's just still a mass confusion, and I don't know whether it came down to Rue not understanding who Bindi Irwin was, not understanding the Australian humour behind it, and I remember when I told Rue who I was doing, she had no idea who Bindi Irwin was. And then I was like, oh, it was the Crocodile Hunter's daughter. And then she didn't even understand who that was. So at that point, I was like, oh, okay, this is going to be interesting. I don't know.
I wondered how much was lost in translation for Michelle and Rue, just generally overall, because I mean, look, they may have seen Evil Angels back in the day, so instead of you know, I feel like they had a point of reference for at least if she wasn't, you know, actually playing. Oh God, why am I blanking? Fuck, who was she playing? Think About My Baby.
Lindy Chamberlain.
Lindy fucking Chamberlain. I think that, like, if she wasn't, like, they would have had a point of reference. At least if they didn't know Lindy Chamberlain's story, they knew the Meryl Streep film, and so they sort of had at least that point of reference. So, did you feel that they'd lost a point of reference with lots of the characters that were there?
Well, particularly with the Australian ones, I think, especially with me and Maxi. We were the only three. It was me, Maxi, and etc. who chose Australian characters, and I was adamant walking in that I was only ever going to do an Australian character because we've had 13 seasons of the international version, 2 seasons of UK, yet no Australian representation. So I thought it would have been a waste to use the platform to not do someone from down under. So definitely, like I remember Rue asking me what show Magda's character was from because she didn't know. So like we were digging holes left, right, and centre, weren't we?
Yeah, and like I mean, I thought obviously I think Maxi did a great job of Lynn, and really sort of landed Lynn Postlethwaite, and you know it was a really interesting Snatch game, and I will be so curious to know once you've seen it, sort of how you feel after having seen how it actually plays out on screen.
Yeah, because I guess at this stage, I only remember it. I only remember the negative things at the moment, because that's what's been playing around in my head, and everything that was said to me as critiques, I've been like rolling around for months in my head. So I've done so I can't wait to watch it back and see what came out of my mouth. And I hope my blue ring got in there. I hope my blue ring.
Your blue ring's in there. I promise you, your blue
ring.
Now, darling, you and I have worked together before, of course. You've worked all over Australia, and you're so respected. Did you? How many of the queens had you worked with before, and were there people who surprised you in your time on the show?
I'd worked with everyone except for Electra Shock.
Wow.
So I knew all of them. So it was like walking into a dressing room, and I think that there's been quite some negative comments from international viewers being like, they're all so mean, they're nasty. But I don't think they realize, one, we all have a history with each other, so the level of like reads and fun little like digs is a lot higher when you're comfortable with people.
Yes.
And so the level of banter they were getting from us in the shade was exactly what you do in a dressing room with your sisters. So
absolutely. I mean, the fact that Maxi called you a dog within four seconds of the opening of the show is
exactly,
isn't it?
Exactly. And, you know, me stirring the pot is because I know the girls can take it. Like, so I think that wasn't really portrayed to international audiences. I don't think they really quite understood that we all know each other. We're all friends. We're colleagues at the end of the day. So we were happy to give and take it.
And it is true, like that Australian drag is so unique. And you know, we've worked overseas. We've met queens from overseas. It is still a very unique style of drag that we have. And also, we were saying last week when I was chatting to Jojo that, you know, we've actually we travel around Australia so much. We actually have worked in everybody's city. We've gone to their venues. We've worked at their venues. And I think that that is one of the most unique things. Whereas, of course, you know, the New York queens don't know the LA queens necessarily. So I think that's what's made this particular version of Drag Race so special, I think.
Yeah, I 100% agree. You know, Australia is big and New Zealand is big geographically, but
Yeah.
the community is tight and it's small. And by picking such, higher professional drag queens for this season, this is going to be a dynamic that has never been seen before on any one of the seasons across the world. So I think that's really exciting, and we'll have a very different perspective and a different flavor for everyone.
Absolutely. Now, obviously, you must be disappointed to be gone in episode 2 as an understatement. But what do you feel?
Oh my God, gutted.
Covers, do you feel that you got to show enough of what art is and who she is and your level of fabulousness? Did you feel that at least in those 2 episodes you got to do that?
I mean, there's always more to show, but I think I walked in there with such a strong sense of self, a strong sense of who I am, and I jammed as much as I could in at every single moment. So I am happy that everyone got to have a good flavor of who I am and what I can do. Of course, there's so much more I want people to be able to see, because we really I didn't get to perform. You know, I got to do Snatch Game, but I didn't get to perform and do what I really love to do, and that's be on a stage. You know, I didn't get to. There was a lot of things I didn't get to do. I didn't get to do a design challenge. You know,
Yeah.
and the things I was excited for. A lot of fabulous fashion that was ready for the runway too. But that being said, I think just from episode 1, everyone got a really good taste and flavor of who I am, and I'm very grateful for that at the very least.
And have you had a good response online and it's Ashley from people so far?
Yeah. It's been amazing. So much positivity and so much. I've started so many conversations because I just tried to shove in as many Australianisms as I could, and it started this discussion about what the hell all of this stuff means, because I guess it hasn't been in pop culture for a while overseas. So I've been getting messages from people being like, we're all saying we're not here to fuck spiders now, or like asking what this means and what that means. And it's been quite great. I love it.
I was saying earlier in the podcast that this is like Tourism Australia program Drag Race, because there's so many Australianisms within the actual show that it's actually so fabulous to hear it celebrated in this way.
Yeah, we should have teamed up with tourism, because this is going to work in our favor.
Absolutely. All right. Now, I'm going to go on to some quick fire questions, darling.
Mm-hmm.
Just a few little bits and pieces. Just see the first thing that comes to mind. What is your most used emoji?
The vomit one.
The vomit one. What's your hidden talent?
Giant mouth hole.
What celebrity do you think you look like?
I actually get, I think like, we'll say Hugo Weaving.
You're very hip, especially in Priscilla.
Yeah, I get it all the time.
What superpower do you wish you could have?
Visibility.
What's the strangest thing you have ever eaten?
A vagina. No, I haven't. I had a dream about doing it once, though. Does that count?
I think that does. It counts in my book, doll. What's the most interesting thing you carry in your purse?
Usually just filled with super glue. That's all it's got.
Here it comes, super glue, whatever you
Yeah.
call it.
So much super glue and so many super glues that have leaked and just stuck to the inside of the handbag. This poor House of Priscilla bag is the graveyard for super glues past.
Oh, we've all got the House of Priscilla bag. It's true. Darling, feathers or sequin?
Sequin.
What's the first song you ever lip synced to?
This is what rock and roll looks like by Porcelain Black.
Wow, that's obscure.
I was very punky.
You are very punky, darling. Weapon of choice.
Weapon.
Yeah.
Oh my god. A water pistol.
Water pistol. The question remains: tea or coffee?
I don't like hot drinks.
I don't either. Snap doll.
Yeah, I
think
bloody
hot
hate
drinks.
them. Ugh.
When are you the most productive?
In the shower.
I won't ask. Elevator or stairs?
Stairs.
Stairs. Spicy or mild?
Spicy.
And
Spicy.
of the lesser of two evils, is it a kitten heel or a wedge?
A wedge. Yeah, a wedge.
A wedge. Now,
That's the
darling,
lesser of two evils.
of course, you are still performing in Melbourne. Where can we see you over the next few weeks?
Yeah, well, we're doing drag race screenings on Saturdays at Flemington Racecourse with Piano Bar every
Heaven.
Saturday, and then every Sunday I'm at one of the Piano Bar venues across Melbourne, or across Victoria. So we've got Ballarat, Bendigo, Colac, and Geelong.
Fantastic. Well, we all look forward to coming and seeing you real and live, and it's just such a joy. You have slayed these 2 episodes. You have been incredible. The wardrobe especially, I think, was just absolutely brilliant. So thank you for being such a great part of Drag Race Jana.
No problem. Thanks for watching.
Drag hack, you're a drag hack.
Thanks so much for joining us for episode 2. Next week, our celebrity drag hag is Gressel Colleen, and we'll be talking all things RuPaul's Drag Race, episode 3. Please like and subscribe and know that we drop every Saturday at 5 p.m. See you next week.
Drag hack.